If you're a foreigner looking to buy real estate in the US, then this video mini-series is for you. My name's David Garner, and over the past 9 years, I've bought over 100 rental properties in the US for my own portfolio. And my team and I help other non-resident foreigners navigate the US real estate market and build profitable property portfolios in the US from overseas. And in this mini-series, we're going to take a real deep dive into the entire process for foreigners who want to buy property in the United States. And we're going to cover everything from setting up the right kind of investment structure through to finding investment properties, getting financing, getting mortgages as a foreigner, how to do your due diligence, how to manage those properties, how to close on them remotely. And also we're going to talk about US taxes, how to file your taxes, and how to mitigate and minimize your US tax liability if you own property in the US as a foreigner. So in this video, in the first episode today, we're going to answer a few fundamental questions about who can own property in the US, what kind of properties you can own, what restrictions there are, and what you need to have in place before you start going out and looking for a property to buy. So the first question, the most searched question on the internet when it comes to foreigners and US real estate is, can a foreigner buy real estate in the United States? Well, the simple answer is yes. Any foreigner really can buy real estate in the US. However, there are some restrictions. You don't need a visa. You don't need a green card. You can own the property in your own name, although I don't recommend you do that. We're going to cover that in episode 3, how to set up an investment structure. But anybody can own property in the United States. You have exactly the same property rights as a US citizen. But let's talk for a minute about some of the restrictions that are in place that you do need to be aware of. Over the last 3 years, there have been some new legislation at the state level in various states that prevent or restrict foreign ownership of farmland, agricultural land, forest land, public lands, and any property within a 10-mile radius of critical state infrastructure. Now that applies, for example, in Florida, there was a new bill passed in 2023 called SB 264, which prevents individuals from certain countries from owning any kind of property within a 10-mile radius of critical state infrastructure. And those countries are Russia, China, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, and maybe a couple of others as well. But if you're not from one of those countries, you're not buying agricultural land or forest land or public lands, then generally there are no restrictions for foreigners who want to buy property in the United States. So what kind of properties can you buy? Well, I built my portfolio on single family homes and small multifamily homes. And small multifamily homes are apartment buildings with 2, 3, or 4 apartments. So duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. You can also, as a foreigner, own townhomes and condos. And that really covers all of the different types of residential property in the United States. But as a foreigner, you can also buy commercial property. You can buy large multifamily, big apartment buildings. You can buy industrial buildings, warehouses, and you can also buy retail spaces as well. But I don't buy those kind of assets. They tend to be much larger, much more complicated to manage. I consider them specialist, and really they're most suitable for investors that are based in the US and have the right kind of experience to purchase and manage those assets profitably. So if you're a foreigner and you want to buy real estate in the US, I would stick to single family homes and small multifamily homes. I don't buy condos because they can have high ownership fees, there can be a lot of deferred maintenance, and they can be very difficult to finance. So I stick to single family homes, small multifamily, and potentially townhomes as well. So what do you need to have in place before you go and buy a property in the US? Well, the first thing you'll need is a unique tax identification number. Now, if you're an individual and you're going to buy property and you're going to own it in your own name, you'll need an ITIN number, which is a tax identification number for individuals. It's the foreigner's equivalent of a social security number. And you'll need that to do almost anything. You'll need it to open a US bank account. You'll need it to get a mortgage. And you'll need it to pretty much do anything as a foreigner in the US. But if you're setting up a US-based investment structure like an LLC, a limited liability company, then that entity will also need a tax identification number, and that's called an EIN, an employer identification number. Now you can apply for that directly from the IRS. You fill out form SS4 and you can fax it to them. I know fax is a little outdated, but that's how they work. Or you can call them and they will issue an EIN number. And if you're going to own your property within an LLC, you'll need the EIN number to open a bank account. And you'll also need a physical address in the United States to receive mail, to receive that EIN number or ITIN number. So there are lots of services that you can use for that. We're going to talk about that in episode 3 of this mini series. But you'll also need to make sure that you file US taxes. So not only will you need the ITIN number and the EIN number if you're using an LLC, you'll also need to fill out form 1040NR, a non-resident tax filing form. And the final thing you'll need is all of your state registrations. Wherever that property is based, you'll have to register usually as the owner of that property. So these are all things to consider. You'll definitely need a tax identification number, you'll definitely need a US bank account, and you'll definitely need a US mailing address. And you'll need that all in place before you can even go and make an offer on a property and get taken seriously by a real estate agent or a property buyer. So that covers who can buy property, the type of properties you can buy, and what you need in place before you go out. In the next video, we're going to talk about the purchase process. We're going to take a deep dive into the process that we go through from identifying a property to applying for a mortgage, doing our due diligence, managing the closing process, and managing that property remotely. I also created a free guide. It's called the 10 most expensive mistakes that foreigners make when they're buying real estate in the US. I'm going to put a link to that in the description of this video so you can go and download that for free. It's free, it's actionable, and it will help you save tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars by avoiding some of the mistakes that I see other foreigners make when they're buying real estate in the US. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I hope you found this useful.